few picks. Honestly, first pick in the tournament right now, very, very open, depending on the teams that you're talking about. And I mean, Lilia comes through for GLFS. Again, not a first pick you would necessarily expect, but it feels so open on what you want to prioritize right now.
It's a good takeaway from Jiejie, and it's one of GLFS's better picks as well. You still have the Ashe available, you still have the Lucian available, you have Renekton, which has been very powerful as well. I mean, I think of the top lane matchups in Nirvana, I think in Ascension it's different, particularly in Nirvana. I think the one player that could potentially punish you for going that Renekton is YSKM, who locks in a duelist, which can potentially get the better of you. EDG immediately snap locking in those very powerful early lanes.
Both players with a single game on either of these picks. Neither of them wins, unfortunately. We'll see if those fortunes can change and if we can get some good flanks from Solokill later on this Renekton. If you can find an advantage up top. I will say Nymaera is open for YSKM. We've also seen some Jax lanes being Renektons, which is not how it's meant to go, but it has happened. Cassante comes through, though, for YSKM in the end. And you'd anticipate a mid pick here to go up into this Lucian.
Yeah, I think that could be a decent lock. I mean, you could just go towards the Corki, even though it's a losing early match.
Could be Yone,
right.
it's Neny, you know. He just
yeah,
has Yone.
that's true.
Oh, I was wrong.
Sadly, Corki's just a thing. Corki exists. Corki's easy. On the other side, I was wondering whether they'd lock in something like that Kai'Sa or the brand. I think Jiejie, one of his very best junglers, has been that brand. He's had some troubles getting his teamfight positioning right recently, though, so that will have to be a step up from him. Immediately now banning away the Kai'Sa from Arn. I think Arn's champion pool getting targeted is very important. Talk about this in the lead up to this game. Arn is realistically the best player on IG, and if he has agency on stuff like the on the Kai'Sa, his Ziggs as well are very, very powerful, then I think IG will always prioritize that because he's so good at carrying his team.
Gives him that much needed AP as well, the Ziggs and the Kai'Sa. Could easily be the two bans coming up through Ezreal, take it away from Leave. Just trying to get rid of the champions with high carry potential, I suppose. Draven actually removed from Arn here. You could get rid of something like a Zeri as well if you really want to get rid of the big carries that have been starting to take control of the meta recently.
I wonder whether we're going to see a Kalista even coming out of Arn at this point. Leave likely blocking something like the Zeri with the Misfortune gone. I could maybe go for a Varus as well, but I feel like maybe asking for it versus a Lilia and a Cassante. So I feel like maybe the Zeri being considered by Leave. I haven't targeted that support pool. I feel like you don't necessarily want to lock in your support right now because there are more of them available, but they go towards that Rel anyway, so take away from Vampire, one of his more favored picks.
We go to the Rel. I mean, I do like Rel alongside a Brand. I have to say that is a combo that I thoroughly enjoy. But it does mean Ziggs has been left wide open for Arn, so wouldn't be too surprised to see that slammed. We've seen more and more Senna coming through recently, but I do prefer the Ziggs here. I think it's not only is it a really good pick for Arn specifically, I think it's just a very strong kind of underutilized pick in the LPL. Will be logged in for Arn. We've seen the Nautilus hovered on the other side. Would not be surprised at all to see that.
Don't you dare hover that, don't you dare hover that, Yumi. I don't want to see that back at pro play. They'll get themselves something like that Nautilus. They could potentially go for Rakan as well if they want to be a little stronger in lane. Rakan just tends to be with his sustain, but the Nautilus very likely to lock in there, which leaves us now with last pick AD carry for Leave. Now, he had a game on Smolder recently, so that is a genuine hover. He also ended up getting caught out in the late game on that Smolder, so we'll see whether that has now dissuaded him for going towards that pick again. We did question whether that Zeri would come in as well. I think that EDG they'd have a huge AoE team fight combo if they did have the Zeri, the Brand, and the Rao all going in at the same time, and it is going to get locked in. IG potentially have range advantage with Swirl Seeds, with bombs, and then also the Corki rockets. On the other side, EDG, I do think that they have a very strong top side of the map early, and of course that AoE team fight, if they can catch IG when they're stacked, will be very, very powerful.
Certainly potential to pop off, isn't there, for EDG? With the Zeri, the Renekton potential flank, the Rel Brand combo, you can definitely see how those fights can occur. The problem is, if you are grouping up like that for a fight, Lilia sort of comes into her own. However, if you stay at arm's length, it could be difficult for GLFS to get into these fights. A lot of this for IG going to be down to Vampire. If you can find those hooks, if you can find those engages, and also if they can find vision control to play around YSKM. We've seen them trying to get some flanks across this split, often getting some very, very, very deep flanks, which isn't always the way. We'll see if that's going to be the case here. both top laners on the flankers usually leads to some interesting shenanigans leading into the team fights. And to be honest, my word of the day today is going to be shenanigans, because IG versus EDG, there's just no two ways about it. This is going to be pure shenaniganery from the word go.
So we have two previous World Championship organizations falling on hard times here for our first matchup of the day down here in Group Nirvana. They're both sat at 1 and 3. We talked about the implications of that. If you drop to a series loss here, you go to 1 and 4, and you can't even get above 50% win rate, even at best case scenario beyond this series. So very important for both these teams to keep fate in their own hands.
They want to keep control of their own destinies. But there's not even a twisted fate in the game. Only time will tell who can take this off. IG versus EDG, it's game number 1. Let's kick this off. So, starting off with abhorrent puns, as I intend to go on. We'll see how these two teams intend to go on, though. Interesting compositions as Wink flashing up his 2018 IG emotes, as he should. Remember, for anyone that missed us in the intro, Wink and Cryin were on IG last time these two teams faced. Vampire was on EDG. We had a big old switcheroo in between the spring and summer split, and Neny has stepped into the mid lane to replace Cryin.
Also want to just say as well, Cryin just flashed one of the faker emotes, the broccoli one. I'm just going to say, Knight lost his Ahri win streak by using the faker skin yesterday. I just want to see if this is going to be a curse, particularly in the LPL. I've got my eyes on you, Cryin. You know, he's picked up that Lucian. It's a good early lane matchup into the Corki. There has been a lot of discussion about mid lane Lucian, about is it good? Is it just another AD carry you can play in mid lane? Specifically into Corki, I really like that Lucian. As soon as you get that E, you can hop out of that boss bomb. At level 1 as well, it's much easier for you to hit that piercing light through the minions, which gives you the wave push, but then also damage onto the enemy champion. Boss bomb, sometimes you have to choose between the wave and the enemy champion, which can kind of lead to you losing the push or losing trades in the early few levels. You need to see Cryin make the most of it, but I think here in the LPL, we're starting to zero in on this pick.
Certainly are. Just still make me laugh that Lucian's passive was turned into something where you get benefits from being supported. Arn needs to be supported down at this bottom side. Flashes galore come across as Wink gets an auto in. Leave low, but Vampire now set back in as well. This is a very nice start to the lane from EDG. Both IG's bot lane is less than 200 HP.
Now, sometimes you can really or underestimate the damage coming through from Azeri early because of that full stack passive. Goes on to Arn. He's going to have to teleport back to lane before 3 minutes in. He gets himself, does he even get himself a potion? He actually didn't get his full HP back, so he pops a potion, gets himself, or I think he might have even sold it because it's not even ticking, gets himself a refill pot. Now EDG will be getting themselves their own resets at this point. It's a couple of summoners down on either side. I don't really know because Leave ends up, oh no, I was about to wonder whether they kind of won out from that trade. By getting the cull, yes, they have won out on that trade.
He'll be very happy with that early recall. Will Leave, and he gets to slide halfway to lane. You can see managed to make it from the inhibitor just past the tier 2. So nice bit of stuff there from Leave. He'll be able to return to lane. Shouldn't lose too much. Should be pushing back towards him as well with the fact that the wave crashed. So positives for EDG straight off of the bat to start the 2v2.
Yeah, and top lane as well, likely to be winning because you have that Renekton. GLFS is down a bot, so this is not the play you wanted, folks.
As he arrives, it's a complete disaster. We've only just begun. Leave has cleansed, but I mean, there's no CC coming through. It's just pure damage on the side of IG. Wink surely will fall. Aftershock keeps him alive for a moment, but the red buff, no. The W dot from Vampire, I think, was enough to finish it. Maybe that was Ignite last second.
I think I look at that Ignite and call out, and I think that definitely helped in that one. So Vampire draws first blood, very typical of him, and very in keeping with the name of that one against EDG. Leave and Wink, guys, come on, play towards your jungler. He's not going to be everywhere at once. Now Jiejie is in bot side, and there is no flash on Arn, but this is, you know, EDG has set themselves up for success in that 2v2. The fact that they end up going in as the jungler revives, this is just like, look, Your jungler is on top side taking top scuttle. Why are you doing this? You know that even if jungler's not necessarily, you know, in your lane, they're at least going to be on bot scuttle because they've just spawned. Why would you go in at that timestamp? That's just thinking. That's thinking just on your screen.
Do you want to know my favorite thing about that? Is there's a ward of Raptors. They knew GLFS was in the bottom quadrant if they'd looked at their minimap within the last 2 minutes. Like, they had full information there.
They don't know he's on bot side. Bottom crab has spawned. You have a ward on Raptor. Come on, guys. Come on.
The funniest thing is, Wink has often been the player that we talk about for EDG being one of the more stable players on the map. He's the one that goes in, tries to make the play alongside Leave. Did not work out. High risk, high reward, I guess, except the reward would have been a positive trade and the risk was both of you die bot lane. Luckily, both didn't die though, so Leave 10 CS up. You can see there's a big wave pushing towards Arn, so that'll just about even up on the bottom side. And all things considered, we're sort of just even. After all of that, the bot lane is pretty much just even, because Arn should have a minor CS lead when this is all done and dusted. Although I say that, actually, maybe not. Maybe Leave is just slightly ahead with that cull as well.
Yeah, you know, there's a funny point about this too. This is probably, weirdly, one of the least amount of AD carries we've seen in a game for a while, and we still have 3 of them. One of them is a Ziggs, who doesn't really count in terms of IG there, but you still have that Corki. We had a series earlier in the week, which had average of 5 AD carries per game, because we had at least 1 in top lane as well. What's happened to the game I love, Joe? What's happened to this? The fact that we've suddenly got 80 carries everywhere, it's got a little bit too much at this point. I don't quite understand why. I mean, we could even have more than that, because you can have them in jungle with Graves and Kindred. You can have them multiple in mid lane. Of course, you got the bot lane. You can see them being played top lane now.
I don't think he really falls into the marksman category.
Bring back what is it? The old Mafia Graves. That one. That's the auto
Here we go. Stun, CC chain, big burn damage, but that is a Cassante. He's pretty tanky at this point in the game and will walk away with his life. Big move up to that top side from EDG as they took the 3 grubs for themselves. NIG got that first strike, but Jiejie wants to grab a blue buff on top, but GLFS looking to answer on the opposite side.
Is YSKM does have that ultimate, which is very, very helpful for surviving dives, and then you've got your W as well. At least be careful here, the wave will get stacked up. This is the bonus of having your Renekton, it just gives you this early wave control when you need it. Jiejie could potentially flash forwards.
Oh, he is, and that's the W down, so YSKM will burn to a Cinder, and that will be EDG grabbing their first kill of the game. Leave, that is a dangerous place to be, my friend, as he's taking a good chunk here. All available for GLFS, so is Cleanse though, but it doesn't matter, because Vampire just flashes to finish the job.
I mean, I guess he just says, let's make like a tree and get out of here. Leave, dies with his flash, being up to E over a wall if he wanted to. What is he doing there? You're on weak side, so really quite questionable plays here from the bot lane of EDG in the early game. You know you're on that weak side. I don't even mind looking for the blue buff steal, but that is just egregious. This is just not what the start which you want from EDG's AD carry, who's had some good games recently. I've liked some of his Kai'Sa performances. He's ended up having some late game like hero plays. The early game here is really not working for him.
I mean, again, like I've said this before about him, I still feel the exact same way. He's just a player that's always looking for the hero play. You don't always have to be a hero.
Yes. Sometimes you just got to turn up. You got to clock in. You got to do your day job. On the other side, you know, yeah, when you've got Jiejie on this early game kind of power, sure, I understand that. Leave was looking for the passive auto steal maybe onto the camp at that point, but dude, just get out of here.
Yeah, it's like the initial contest on the camp is fine, but then just leave. You're level now. You're not going to win that 1v1. Like, even as the 1v1, he doesn't win that. But then Vampire moves over as well. It's like, I don't know what you expected.
While all this is happening as well, Arn gets a turret play or 2 on bot lane. Yeah, he gets 3 in fact. 3 bot lane turret plays because there are Ziggs on strong side. I think Ziggs has often been viewed as a champion that should just be left on weak side to wave clip. No, this guy destroys turrets if you ever let him close to them. The fact that he gets that amount of gold puts him now ahead of Leave. I think the composition from EDG doesn't deal well with the Ziggs either. There's no hyper tank there to stop the skill shots going into your backline. The first person picked off by a Nautilus, and the Nautilus has 2 kills by the way. Vampire is doing a lot of bloody work down there. It's going to be a really difficult game now for EDG if this Ziggs gets off the ground, and it feels like they're getting that way as it stands. But a lot of that is through EDG just bluntly making mistakes in this bot side rather than him, as he more typically does, earning them himself. Arn has been a great player of this Ziggs. He's had an easy game of it, though, this time.
I was going to say, he's not had any chance to earn an advantage himself because EDG have just been handing it over, like, freely. He's never even had to make an effort at this point. Unfortunate start for EDG, but it's certainly not over just yet. They are actually up in gold ever so slightly. Advantages to be found with this Renekton pushing up in the top side. You're always going to be able to get that CS advantage, especially when Jiejie and Wink consistently enter your lane and kill your lane opponent. Solokill will be very happy with how that one started. So will Jiejie, getting that kill on the brand. So there are positives still going for EDG. It just feels like when Arn is set up, IG look at their best. It does feel like, especially with that Lilia Ziggs combo, Arn is really set up.
He is absolutely chilling right now. Gets himself that Ludens as well in, which is a very good burst item. Vampire doesn't have flash. Now, this is the negative. You killed off Leave with that flash. Awesome, cool, great moment. Flashy, that'll be in the montage reel. You don't have it to now contest around the grubs, and now you're going to have 6 grubs. It is Grubageddon. We've got Swarm Mode. We brought it in. We've got Swarm Mode here, right in the LPL. You heard it here first. First professional game of that one. And they're going to use that very quickly to go towards top tower, but not before the satchel probably kills bot tower.
Yeah, can they beat the Ziggs? Absolutely not. Nobody can beat the Ziggs is the answer to that question. So YSKM will be able to clear the way. Tried to get Leave underneath the tower there. Doesn't quite get in range. But I'm not sure YSKM will be able to defend this tower for too much longer. That said, I don't know whether Leave, he's been left on his own. Whether he can actually pressure that tower by himself, probably not. So all things considered, EDG, they got the grubs, but they don't really get anything else off the back of it. And they're losing 2 waves to the tower in bottom lane.
Yeah, the fact that they, again, threw a boatload of gold over to Arn and Vampire, that's a problem now. They've gotten way more gold out of that bot lane than they should have done. Zeri is very good at just sitting there and wave clearing a lot of the time. Now they rotate Leave up towards the top side to use those grubs, hopefully get some gold back by taking their top lane out of turret. That will help, but the fact is, you are already... I don't like saying outscaled a lot in the current meta because I think there's so much in execution. I think scaling is a strange conversation anyway. I think in this game, EDG probably are just bluntly outscaled though by the side of IG. Giving gold to that scaling component doesn't help. They might try and dive YSKM again, they'll at least take the top.
Alright, can YSKM do some K'Sante things? A bomb comes through to clear the wave. He doesn't even need to do K'Sante things when the minion wave just evaporates. Leave sticking around as Vampire. Going to try and protect his top laner. YSKM here to try and clear those minions once more. Leave can't really step too close because K'Sante, he will kidnap you and he will have his way with you. That's not what Leave wants to happen on that top side. So he has to back away.
Yeah.
Great play, Ansel, and a Vampire roam.
I also like what YSKM was doing there. Of course, Zeri can't directly attack the auto attack. It's just whatever the first thing in front of it is. If you stand between Zeri and the turret, she auto attacks you and she takes minion aggro, she takes tower aggro. So just delayed it a little bit. It's not going to be the most important thing. I just like it. I like calling up a small understanding of this. YSKM, he's not necessarily known for his K'Sante in the way that his duelists are. I think even though he's 1k down, I'm looking forward to seeing his teamfight impact. Last time he was on this pick, I remember him having some huge team fights on the champion, and given that IOG really need him to have a team fight impact now, to be that bulwark in front of EDG as they try and use this Renekton brand early game kind of damage, that's going to be very important.
I will say, early in the game, with a Thornmail versus Zeri, I think just standing still in front of her might be your highest DPS option anyway. Just getting the damage.
Big brain.
He's just utilizing that item pickup. I will say, looking across the gold leads right now, it is EDG slightly ahead, but I'm pretty sure I'm alongside many players when I say I think I'd rather have the 800 gold lead on a Ziggs than a 1000 gold lead on a Renekton. But we'll have to see. Only time will tell. EDG certainly not out of the running, and with a gold lead with 6 grubs, there's still plenty of opportunity to find advantages. I'm looking towards Cryin there as well in the side lane. He's got that Lucian, which he so often can find side lane pressure. He's got 6 grubs to work with. It's definitely a composition that can quite happily pressure in the side lanes with the Renekton and with the Lucian.
Arn's going to teleport back towards mid lane. 6 grubs means that, what, about a third to a half of this turret is already going to be gone. Yeah, just around about that third of that HP. 6 grubs really is a win condition. Giving that over is very powerful. Now, IG, they do not want to give this Herald over.
Topside objective battle. EDG managed to get it. That's a huge depth charge and a bomb on top of it as YSKM dives into the action for more. Now the flank from Solokill, his opportunity to shine for the side of EDG. He's 1v3 right now and he'll take down Vampire. That's a shutdown on the Nautilus, but Solokill dies for it too.
So what does that end up being? 2 for 1 overall. Herald does go down. I'm trying to see if it's in the inventory of anyone.
EDG took it, but nobody grabbed the eye, I think.
Right, I was sat there like, okay, I don't see it on the minimap. I don't see it on any of those trinkets, so that is exactly what happened. It goes down, but I think IG, in a lot of ways, that's mission accomplished. They do lose an extra kill, but the fact that that Herald doesn't end up going to the side of EDG means that despite the fact that they have 6 grub, breaking that mid lane out of turret is going to be very, very hard. If they had that Herald, they'd be able to pressure that. Even just an extra auto attack or 2 more could have been enough. Jiejie caught out. Dude, he's just caught recalling.
I mean, that's just unfortunate. As the stalwart veteran, the guy that's leading the charge that we always talk about, can't really be caught out making mistakes like that. That is rough for EDG now because, as you were talking about, they just sort of won the fight. They technically got the Herald and the gold from it at very least without grabbing the eye, but now losing all tempo off the back of that pick. You see, they smited to start off with the deck charge. Vampire is fantastic.
Yeah, I felt like the fight should have been over at that point. The fact that the Zigzag didn't really quite catch the targets they wanted to makes this a lot more even than it could have been. Exceedingly right. Santa does in the back of this, Cryin some slick ice skating there on the Lucians, almost went out that fight, but they don't end up getting that Herald as we just called out. It means that EDG don't get themselves the easy way to break open that mid lane turret. It means that IG can breathe a sigh of relief. Arn is going to be wave clearing for forever and a day now from that mid lane to keep that turret.
So, we have a moment of respite, but in 90 seconds, Ocean Drake's going to come back onto the map. Recall from YSKM. Sticks around. I don't know if he should have. He's made a terrible mistake. 1v1 with Cryin potentially. Teammates are on their way. Cryin flashes from the stun. And suddenly YSKM alone should have finished the recall, my friend.
Oh dear. So EDG, they do send 3 towards the bot side with the Shiv on Zeri now. Thing is, we talked about the Ziggs being very good at wave clearing through mid lane. Of course, that's one of the highlights of League of Legends history. It kind of ruined Season 4 for an entire year, folks, if you ended up missing that one way back in the day. But when you have the Shiv on Zeri, you're completely fine to keep doing that wave clear yourself. The Zigzag down towards bot lane, tried to save that turret, because again, this is the way that you try and stop that 6 grubs getting huge value. EDG need this gold, and they need it as soon as possible. They're an earlier game composition with the Lucian and the Renekton really wanting to use that power spike and staying ahead of the game. I think that the Lucian is better, still good into the late game, but he is much better when he gets to be ahead of the game. The fact that now you haven't broken mid lane turret because you didn't pick up that Herald, you don't get that bot lane turret as well because you've got the Zigzag wave clearing his side lanes too, not just his own lane, is going to slow down EDG's role. They need to really get on the board as soon as possible to make sure that IG don't get ahead, or at least stay within touching distance up until the point where they have their items, and it's not really a fight at all in the late game.
Mid prime for EDG, Cryin TPing in as well to join the Death Ball, who are looking towards the strength. It looks like IG perhaps just going to forego this one. GLFS on that top side going for a Scuttle Crab. Enemy Crooks would be up, but I don't know if he wants to venture quite that far. The EDG not going to start the Drake on spawn, and it means IG can contest this wave. They can get priority for themselves, and now they're the ones moving into River instead.
Yeah, Vampire does have the depth charge, does have that hook. Neny trying to get a chunk out of lead, he does manage to get a bit. Try to see how big that Ziggs ultimate is, how big that Lilia is as well. With the flash Lilia Q available, that can be so powerful.
Solokill's trying to get a flank, but his team's already in the fight. That's a huge kill onto Wink. Leave dives forward to try and start more. Solokill moving forward. GLFS forced to flash away. Gets a double sleep. Bomb available for Arn. Just goes for the front line. Solokill jumped. Leave now caught. Has to flash back away from YSKM. EDG trying their damnedest, but falling short.
Yeah, I mean, it's only the 1 kill onto EDG, but the fact that they lose so much health bar is a big problem. Teleport back in from IG. They're very happy to continue this dance themselves. Leave tried to find that kind of thread the needle and get that Zeri team for it. Just doesn't have the items just yet, and IG, this is a really good side. They are a team comp, which I think does better in the late game, but they're already contesting and winning fights here at the 19-minute mark. So that's going to be very powerful for them if they do get themselves that dragon as well, which is very likely to. They're also going to have soul point, which means they have more late game macro options. They can either give up dragons, or they can try and look for that soul themselves. Starts off with, again, the kind of the trade of aftershocks between the supports. Jiejie does get a decent pyroclasm across the team, but it's just not quite enough to get the kills at this point. I think Leave chooses the right opportunity to go in as well, because you need to go in before that Nautilus hook is back up. Swirl Seed ends up really making a difference here, though, at the same time. Lilia does use the flash, but still, going even in these fights would have been good. The fact that they get that extra kill and the dragon, very much a win for IG.
I mean, putting themselves on soul point is phenomenal news for the team. Like, not only is that a win condition, it's also denying a potential win condition for EDG for 20 minutes, basically. Fantastic stuff inside of IG to be able to get that fight. Recall just about comes through in time. As Wink arrived in that brush, had his knockback primed, but GLFS got out of dodge. So 6-4, 3 Drakes. Gold just about even as EDG get an opportunity to take a tower, but it will be traded in the top side, so gold will remain even. Does feel IG favored right now, and I just want to quickly mention, I think we should celebrate it while we can. IG quietly having a really nice game on this Nautilus. Vampire, sorry, not IG.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's been playing out the team quite well. The laning phase in the early game was very good too. Swasey's going to land onto Jiejie. I don't think that's going to lead to anything. I was wondering if we just pull that ultimate if Arn was in range, not to be the case. Solokill pops his ult to wave clear through here. Leave was rotated down towards that bot side to get themselves some more of that gold, but it does mean that he's not here to wave clear through mid lane, which means Arn is going to take this mid lane turret. Now, IG, they're not a team which I've particularly praised the macro of before. They're a team which typically look towards the big fights, but they really are getting themselves good tower gameplay. I think that particularly Arn, with his wave clear, delaying EDG from using those 6 grubs and just holding the bot lane turret for so long, holding the mid lane turret for even longer, it's still there, has slowed down EDG so much to the point where now IG are trading up in towers now versus EDG across the board too. They're still only behind, they are still behind a little bit of gold, but again, this team comp doesn't mind being behind a little bit, but they're still getting themselves towards their items in EDG. They're going to get towards the end of the power spike of that Renekton fairly soon, and that's going to be a big problem for EDG.
Randuin's just finished off for YSKM as well. That guy in the top lane, he is a problem now. That is a high value Randuin. That is a high value Thornmail. YSKM is going to be really tough to bring down. Jiejie basically the only one that's going to be really able to shred YSKM, but do you want your brand's full combo going onto the K'Sante? Probably not. So we'll see how EDG deal with that later on. I remember IG won this matchup last time around. EDG were having a truly terrible split for themselves. They switched around. They took Cryin and Wink, and IG took Vampire, and it feels like Vampire knows how important this matchup is for him personally. He was on the losing side last time around, wants to be winning.
So, EDG, they need to break this mid lane out of turret. That is mission number 1. Solokill has ult, has flash. It is so hard to go into this tower team. It's hard to do it without the tower involved. If the tower's also there, it's not exactly going to get any easier. Dragon's up in 2 minutes. That's a soul point for IG. EDG, I'm not going to... They have like one more big fight in them, I think, but then I think their team composition is going to run into some real big roadblocks beyond that point. If they do get a big win, potentially it's Dragon and it's Baron and it's mid lane turret, there's a whole host of objectives up on the map, depending on how many people survive the next big fight. IG just needs to be aware that they can probably slow down if they want. That doesn't mean they don't have to look for fights. I think that they have themselves the Seekers on Lilia. That's very powerful because Lilia with Zhonya's is a completely different champion to Lilia without that. Of course, have 2.5 items on. You have triple teleports. You have so many options to approach the next few minutes that I think IG should be absolutely chilling right now. The onus is on EDG to find a good fight. IG don't even need to be angling for that at all. Even though it's IG, and IG do love to look for those big fights, they're not forced to at all.
They're not forced to. I will say, I do feel that they are capable of fighting at this point in the game. You know, 2.5 items on the Ziggs, like you say, Lilia very close to finishing that Zhonya's, but has the Seekers, so functionally has that gameplay pattern for the next fight. Neny 2.5 items, your tank in YSKM getting strong as well. Perhaps Warmogs would be nice for Vampire before you're really looking for the big extended engages, but Drake coming up in 20 seconds, and it looks to me like IG want to fight for it.
So look for the skill shots like those bombs and the swirl seeds. They could actually lead to a big fight in themselves if they hit the right targets. Those swirl seeds have been very, very good from glfs so far. He's going to go on a bit of a vision removal plan there. Doesn't manage to do any of that on the 2 different wards around the flank. Solokill. He needs to have himself a huge team fight as well. Big combo up on the table. Here comes Wink.
Wink goes in but finds nothing, and Vampire flips it around. Horsey down. Solokill into 4. Good damage on glfs, but that's all he'll get. Bomb on his head, and he's exploded into a million pieces. And YSKM says, this is a flank. Jiejie barely gets out with his life as Leave is sent packing. Health bars are low for IG. Maybe a miracle can come on through. Leave trying to carry the fight here. The bombs, the swirl seeds flying in his direction. He survives, but IG low. Can they actually take the Drake? They are going to commit. Noel on Jiejie. This should be solved.
And Leave almost gets himself again that big team fight. I really would like to praise him, but it just doesn't feel like he can get the damage down to win these fights. He's almost threading the needle to get the big AoE, but it's IG that are getting it first. Wink misses his big engage, and it feels like that was the moment where EDG kind of fell apart. We get ourselves a pause after that point, and this is what I like to call the camera of shame. Whoever it goes to first is the person that called the pause, so it's likely IG that caused that.
Maybe. I reckon it's Leave. I reckon Leave chucked the pause. It was like, hang on, I've seen Ruler in that situation. There's a Quadra-Kill appears on the screen. Where's my Quadra-Kill? That didn't quite... It didn't... I'm on Zeri. I thought that was automatic. What do you mean they nerfed it?
Yeah, we saw too many pentakills on that champion. We saw way too many pentakills. I mean, I thought it was bad enough when... Remember, we had like a release of Phelios and release Nymaera. That was Nymaera was around that time where Collector was really, really strong when it first got introduced in the game in 2020 as well. So Collector would execute so many things on like below 10% HP, I think it was at that point. It was effectively just a walking pentakill machine. And yet even then, Zeri had even more. I cannot believe that happened with this champion. There is a good reason we kept this champion down for a long time.
I still maintain that the most obnoxious version of Zeri wasn't even just the outright broken release version. It was the lawnmower version, where you go Titanic Hydra plus the Hurricane, and you just, not only do you shred team fights, you're also totally invincible. Like, that's just not acceptable.
Funnily enough, on Zeri's release, I did a segment which was the Zeri release spotlight. It was one of the very first times I'd done like a studio broadcast. It was great. Good fun memories of that. One line, I think, even with all the changes from Zeri from that was, which I think has aged well, is that Zeri is a champion which doesn't always do the most damage, especially when you compare it to like an Aphelios or Jinx or whatever. The problem with Zeri is that you can't stop her from doing that damage, especially when we've had like the big bruise rebuilds when she just gets a million HP, and when we had the stacking movement speed as well. Even with all those changes, she still has somewhat retained that identity where if you don't kill the Zeri, you're still afraid of the Zeri. IG kind of get away with it in the last couple of fights because the entire rest of the team is dead and you do have that Nautilus, but that has forever been one of the big issues about that champion.
Still is, to some extent at least. We'll see if she ends up being a problem today. It doesn't feel like Leaf is getting much of a chance to be a problem today. And I think that's one of the things that this Ziggs brings to a composition, honestly, is that you can play these fights at range. You don't have to fully commit in the same way. Obviously you can still go for big sort of wombo combos alongside that Ziggs, but you can also play a much more distanced game. And with the swirl seeds coming on through, with Corki rockets coming on through, and these Ziggs bombs, it does feel like IG's team fights haven't really been full commit team fights in the way that you think, in the way that you typically think of team fights. And up against things like a brand, things like a Zeri, that's fantastic to not be full committing, to not be grouping up.
Yeah. I have to say, I've largely liked what Leaf's been doing in regards to, you know, the hook being used and then Zeri trying to look for an engage. This one's kind of sad, because the hook ends up hitting as Wink goes through, so Wink flashes over the hook and, one of his teammates gets hit as well. You see how hard it is for the Renekton to play out these team fights too. If he doesn't get a great angle and immediately one-shot someone, it just feels like you get left alone like a 1v4. Renekton really, at max, was 1v3 with one of those players being a lower damage support or something like that. And you know, I do feel like on the whole, the team fights have been, you know, like largely IG favored, but you can see some of these gaps where EDG's AD carries can slot themselves in the cracks. as the CC's been used. However, now the Ocean Soul's gone over. You are now behind in gold for the first time. And this is where I feel like EDG's composition and the weakness of it now starts to get exposed. You didn't get the early game advantages that you need. We very rarely give out that Renekton pass, which is you get this early game lead. Okay, now win team fights with it, please. We've given you these resources. It gets that much harder now. A 1,000 gold lead for a Renekton is not the same as a 1,000 gold lead for this Corki, for this 6.
And I will say, I think this is one of Vampire's best games from recent memory. Really good performance on this Nautilus up against his old team. I feel like Vampire today is incensed. He wants this win so incredibly badly. This one's not really about the LPL. This one's personal. This one is about him versus EDG. Win. The replacement wants to make it happen, but Vampire dives into the backline, gets onto Leave. But in the meantime, Solokill on the flank trades 1-for-1. Leave goes down as the top laners both just trade their lives for a kill on the AD carry.
It's a 2-for-2, all things said and done, and EDG, that felt like it should have been the big moment. Arn gets caught out, he still has that flash. He's going forward, Cryin not going down, and it still remains that 2-for-2. EDG throw an awful lot out, and it's still an even fight. They have yet to have a clean win.
So we're just quickly bringing to attention the fact that IG did finish off that Ocean Soul. It was just after the pause that they finished it, so we didn't really mention it down. Oh my god, what is that? That is half a Cryin health in a big one. That is ridiculous.
Big one of the Muramana. Right, we'll get a replay of that one too. As Wink has himself the Hexlight. And then you get the brand damage over to, if you have a flash from Jiejie, that the team fight and maybe the game turns with it, but you don't quite get the brand damage at the right kind of moment. Leave gets caught out by YSKM. That's really important. If Leave is alive after that point, things change a massive amount. Baron's going to get started. EDG, can they get here in time? I think so, yes, just about, but Wink isn't there to be the engage.
I thought IG would just peel off, but they are sticking around for this one. Solokill already chunked as YSKM moves over. Remember, Ocean Soul means they can keep this up all day long. The sustain is there, and IG take Baron. EDG try and contest, but never really commit.
And you can still see that EDG... that's a
he
great
must have died during
question.
the replay, right?
I said, yeah, I saw that he was dead, and I just assumed, oh, it's post-team fight. But then, yeah, Leave was back up anyways. That one's a little strange. And EDG, they do what I'd like to call some Safari League of Legends. They look at the wildlife going down. They don't really do anything about that Baron. They don't really find themselves anything else. Wink ended up face-checking. He goes down from that one. EDG, they got a bit of a Safari to the Baron pit, and they don't take mid lane turret. They could have at least taken that while the Baron was going down. You didn't have the flash on Jiejie. And now EDG, they find themselves at a point where, again, they are down in gold. They are now against that Baron, against the Soul, and they still haven't taken the mid lane turret. They still haven't taken that one at 30 minutes almost into the game.
Oh, hang on. Engage comes through onto Cryin, flashes to safety, but the bomb on top of the burn! What a combo from IG! Not even a flash and a dash can save you now. And with Ocean Soul, they can keep this up. They don't even have to recall from the chunks. Neny gets a tower in the bottom side as well. Leave trying to do something to answer. He's looking for a tier 2. At least that'll be some gold onto the Zeri, but it'll be in trade for potentially 2 inhib towers here.
Getting hit by, I believe that was an unassisted swell seed as well. GLFS, great accuracy, but also you have E, you have Flash, you're a mobile AD carry, you have that summoner spell. At this moment, you can't afford to go down like that. So that's going to be an inhib down. It's likely going to be with the rest of the Baron buff to another inhib taken in the mid lane. Wouldn't surprise me to see IG stack up and take that one. They can get themselves a recall. They can go towards an Elder in a minute if they want as well. EDG, I guess it's a blessing that the Elder is up. They might be able to get themselves an Elder flip because it feels like they're not winning any other way this game.
You know, it always makes me really nervous when Elder Dragon is spawning on the map. We've got 60 seconds, and IG, they've slowly but surely pushed this lead for themselves. It has felt IG control for the vast majority of this game. Cryin, I mean, you just can't be getting hit by those, can you? You just can't.
No. It's an unassisted swell seed when you're a mobile AD carry, something which I've criticized some other AD carries here in the LPL as well, and now you just have to see those bowling balls going right the way down the map.
Cleanse was not quite off cooldown just then, so... Oh, okay, GLFS didn't actually have his ult. If that ult had been up and Cleanse wasn't, you just get this sleep into the bomb. Leave probably dies.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Just with the slow and the damage coming off of that, you're already gonna be in a lot of trouble. The Rift Makers now come through for GLFS, so that's gonna add the extra kind of stacking damage over time.
This just feels so hard for EDG. Like, how are you going to face check this? Even with everyone up on the map and nobody having been picked before the Elder spawns, how on earth are you face checking into this team? It's going to have to be Wink to do it. Solokill's going to try and push out bot side and potentially look for a flank, but the Elder's already started. They're just going to two-man this one, and EDG going to have to desperately try and force their way in 3K on Elder. It's going to be smited, and now IG, they've lured EDG in towards them, and now with Elder should be golden. YSKM's in trouble, but Wink and Cryin are in even more. YSKM is going to go down on the top side, but it just does not matter. Lee nearly flashed into a bomb there, dives into the backside against Elder. The burn is plenty for Hunt to finish the job, and my goodness, IG, they've made a mockery of EDG.
This has not been close. EDG makes some mistakes in the early game. They give too much gold over towards that Ziggs, and the Ziggs demolishes the game alongside the rest of Invictus Gaming. They have turned up to play in what feels like a bit of a personal matchup for a lot of these teams.
Bit of a grudge match here. Solokill trying his best in these fights to get the backside, but ultimately, it's all IG to start us off today. Fantastic composition, fantastically played out. EDG, like you say, a few mistakes in the early game, but IG doing a phenomenal job to not only punish those mistakes, but then snowball towards a victory.
Yeah, no, that was as far as it goes between these two teams particularly. That was a clean game from IG. We don't often see the clean games from them. The fact that they walked away with what was a pretty good early game, the gold onto the Ziggs, even if it was thrown to them by EDG's bot lane, you take those. Part of the skill of League of Legends is taking mistakes and making something bigger out of them. They absolutely did. I love the Lilia. I love that Nautilus as well. The Ziggs following up with the combos. This was good games. A good game from IG.
Yep, great little start from IG. We're going to jump into a break and see if they can keep that going. EDG, though, this is a grudge match. I'm sure they're not going to go down without a fight. We'll have to find out.